What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. Here with the name you know, the man Tanga Loa. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate you being so courteous to allow me on the show.
Yeah. I appreciate you. I actually just spoke with your brother, and one of the hot topics was who is the loudest cursor.
Well, it depends on which brother. If you're talking about Tama,
Yes.
then Tama. Yeah, I think he's just more outspoken. He says more. Our younger brother, though, I've heard him curse quite a bit, but his is very few and far between. But when it does, it's pretty loud. But on
When
my end, I'm not that loud.
I mean, when I would tune into Access TV when New Japan got on there, and I was like, I wonder how many Gorillas of Destiny curse words I'm gonna hear with a clothesline into a corner this week.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about in the ring, I guess it's between Tom and I. It's just it's in the heat of the moment. A lot of those times, like there are certain moves you don't want to take, and sometimes you just want to let loose a little bit. So you gotta allow some of that anger out a little bit.
What
So
are
sometimes
some
it comes out.
what are some of those moves you don't want to take?
I'm not, and there's a lot of guys who know that. I'm not a big fan of chops. I think those are ridiculous. Uh, I think chops are. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying it's just like it's one of those things like maybe it's just my mentality or something. But like in a real fight, and I know this is wrestling is pure entertainment, but in like a real fight, you're not gonna chop somebody. Like that's it's not.
The idea behind
No one's thinking to
chops,
chop somebody.
yeah, the idea behind chops originally was that closed fist punches were supposed to be illegal because you can knock somebody out with a
Right.
closed fist punch. They don't want their wrestling match ending in 5 seconds, so they're like, okay, open up the hand. But now, like, nobody enforces closed fist punches, so I'm like, why are you chopping people when you could punch people?
Right. And like there's refs who, ones who, pointed out, like they'll give you the hey, watch that hand, and that's cool. But chops are just they're the shits.
They don't make sense to me anymore. I'm like, why? I mean, if you like the sound, okay, but to
Yeah.
me, it's like, why would you not punch somebody in the face or headbutt somebody or elbow somebody instead of chopping them?
Yeah, there are some fights that happen with a slap across the face.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you'll get a pop out of that. But yeah, that chop, it's a wonderful sound. It projects in the arena, and I understand that part. But if you're the person receiving it, it's just it's the shits, man. Even
So
if you do have like padding on, you can still feel that thing.
so they got New Japan Strong going strong now. When's the last time before this you took 5.5 months off of wrestling?
I don't know.
I mean,
To tell you, like it's been a long time. I know my time off has been shorter than some guys, but yeah, like it's been a long time.
how did it feel getting back in there? Like, was it? I mean, you've done this for a significant period of time, so I'm sure it wasn't weird getting back in there. But after so much time at home, how did you feel?
Oh, I was so happy to be back. It's this is your profession, so like it's something you love to do, and to be back with the boys and to see everybody, and then to get creative juice flowing again, that's wonderful. And then I'm always a big fan of adrenaline, so just coming in to the match, like you're coming to the ring, no matter if anyone's in there or not, like just breaking that curtain and just coming in to see the ring and knowing that you're putting on a show is a wonderful feeling. So I was real happy to just be back there and do it again. But going back to like you're saying, when you're performing in front of nobody, going in, you knew it, but then when you're in it, you're kind of like, oh shit, no one's here. I need some noise. I need something to help create a rhythm.
Bust out
So
the
I actually feel.
chops.
So yeah, I don't mind if you're gonna bust out some chops then, because I understand we need some sound. But there's times like, I'll just create sound. I'll say stuff just so I can hear something. And what was nice is that commentary, you can hear them, so you can actually interact with Kevin and Kozlov over there to the side. So there's times I know in the match I try to just take full advantage of that, just because I need that rhythm to get back in the swing of things.
I mean, New Japan does have some fairly quiet crowds at some time, but has it ever been so quiet that you could hear the commentary, like when there were crowds?
No, no, not at all. Like, yeah, it was just so weird. And plus, like, even if how it's set up too, like commentary is like right there by one of the corners. Like, there's maybe 5 feet between that ring post and commentary, so you can hear them. Like in usual setups, they're a little further and down.
Yeah.
But commentary is actually up and directly across. They're right there, like by the apron side. They're there. So you definitely can hear them.
How has that affected you from an in-ring standpoint? Are you hearing anything that they say and adjusting anything based on it? I mean, categorically different forms of sports and entertainment, but there have been people in the UFC right now that are like, yeah, I heard Paul Felder, I heard Dan Hardy, I heard Daniel Cormier, and adjusted my game plan accordingly.
Well, yeah, like there are things like, especially Kevin. Kevin's been in the business long enough, so he'll see things. And luckily, we're in tags, so anytime I'm on the apron, I'll tune in just to see what he sees, and then adjust accordingly, like you said. Because there's times you're in the heat of battle, and sometimes you're not sure what's going on. Like, you're just bumping around. You're like, oh my god, what the fuck? And then once you get that break, and like Tama's back in, like you can get your mind about you, get your wits about you, and then luckily Kevin's over there close enough to where I'm like, okay, what happened? I can hear what he saw, and then what he thinks may happen. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right here and there, and then adjust accordingly.
So, wrestling in front of no fans, I mean, anybody that's come up through independent wrestling has wrestled in front of some sparsely attended crowds and stuff like that, or even some developmental places. But was this a first for you outside of, like, per se, tryout matches or something like that? Was this the first time that that's happened to you?
No, I don't think so. I think there was a match one time. There's like maybe like 4 people in the crowd. And like, I'm not including our family in that. I think 4 of our family members are there, but I don't ever like count them part of the crowd. So I think there's like 4 people at one time. And in the arena, I think that's as many people that are outside the ring, because there's 2 commentary for English, 2 commentary for Japanese. So it felt almost like that one time. But yeah, like you said, other than those matches we had in developmental, I think that was probably like the third time that's happened coming up.
Did you and your brothers do a lot of so-called empty arena wrestling at your house when you were little? Like, I mean, you come from a family of wrestlers.
But yeah, when we were kids, especially Tama and I, we had a really good friend of ours, Bobby, who lived next door. Like, there were times we had sleepovers and we had bunk beds and we pretend like, we were coming off the top rope and stuff like that. Those good times then. But yeah, that's probably the only time we had.
So
when we were kids.
Over the course of just a few years, you hit so many different places, like from WWE to what is now Impact Wrestling to New Japan. How was that period for you transitioning? Because we're talking like different styles, different personalities, different geographical locations. How was that transition for you moving from one to the other?
Actually, it wasn't bad. Like, that transition from WWE to Impact. Luckily, there was guys there who I knew already, like EC3, Brodus Clay. So the adjustment was fine. Nothing too bad. Just how that work schedule was at that time. It was just like a weekend every month almost. So not being consistently working all the time like I was with WWE. That was just a little adjustment, but it was fine. I think that just coming over to Japan, I think that was a little different. Even though I had Tama here already, Juice was already here, so like there's like a little bit of adjustment there, but the culture itself, we're just trying to make sure I didn't F it up for myself, you know.
Of
And
course.
then at the same time, like Tama's been there long enough, so he knows how things go. So like it was almost at times I feel like he was on my back, making sure I didn't like fuck it up. So I was like, hey, you know, like you can get off my back a little bit, give me a little breathing room, just in case. I mean, if I do mess up something, it won't be too bad. I can just learn from it. But yeah, I think if anything, it was just working again with Tama might have been the only difference between WWE Impact and Impact to New Japan, just because Tama and I hadn't been together for like 6-7 years.
Yeah, I was about to ask how long it had been. And during that period, did you all ever talk like you say, man, I want to get over there to Japan, or him like, I want to get over there to WWE? Because as I said with him, everybody can relate to growing up and saying, man, I want to be tag team champion with my brother, cousin, dad, even in your all's case.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of meat to that bone.
Definitely. In the beginning, like the goal would come in together, stay together, and make sure it's happening. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, but fortunately, it did. You know, you always got to find the positive and negative. Luckily, I had the experience to work in Puerto Rico and then go to Japan, and he has stayed with Japan since then. And his goal ever since he got to Japan was to help that company grow, and I believe he's done a good job of accomplishing a lot of those goals he set for himself with the company. And at that time, as we were both working, you know, he'd come in and out and he'd stay with us wherever I was living, and we'd have a good time and we just talk about what he was trying to accomplish. And I think him and the company and what he set out to do.
Back. So in that period away, you spent some time in WWE. How long had it been since you had ridden a bicycle before you got back to WWE?
Not long. Like, other than that type of bike, I think was had been a while, because that bike I couldn't even like really pedal because I had to walk it.
Yeah.
But
I was shocked.
That bike still exists too.
I was shocked WWE never used that for like a Kofi Kingston Rumble spot. Like he gets out, he lands on the bike, rides it around the ring, gets back in. Like
yeah, that could have been it. I mean, even for, I think there was, yeah, wasn't Unico? Yeah, Unico was in a Royal Rumble at one time. I think Awesome Kong had been in that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and then she threw Unico out. I mean, we could have used that spot for the bike if we had that bike at the time. I think we just walked up, didn't we? I can't remember.
Do you still keep in touch with Hunico? He's also known as a bit of an ass kicker outside the ring, at least according to wrestling lore.
No, I think I might follow him on Instagram. I haven't talked to him since I left. Like, there's only a handful of people I still talk to from WWE. Like Big E, I still chatted up with. Of course, the Usos and Serona. And then EC3, you know, in NJPW before we had gone out of our contracts. So, yeah.
So you moved over to New Japan, and it seemed like pretty instantly you found a groove there. It seemed like that was a real nice fit for you. How did you feel going over there and working the first few times? Like, did you notice a different in environment, like whether it be backstage or anything? I mean, you're back with your brother, so that had to help.
Well, yeah, it was like I mentioned before, it's been a long time since I worked with my bro. So I was happy that, you know, we were back on that track of that goal of working together and becoming champions again, or champions for a company. But working style, like, I appreciate there in New Japan is sometimes you could get lost in the sauce about like how entertainment works exactly for wrestling, like that wrestling entertainment. It's not a sport, whatever. but it's simple with New Japan. I feel like because like they're simple. Like even when I explain to you, I think it was it? Was it Hattori or was it Gato? It was either or, but they simply say like, whatever you feel in your heart, that's it. Like, expose that. Like, don't think about how you should act. Just what you feel internally. Allow that to come out. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, like at times when, especially during that New Japan kingdom, like how inside, like I was pissed, I was cursing, and that's how I felt. Like, so yeah, definitely. Like New Japan, I think they just understand the emotional aspect of the fight, and so they encourage it more to don't act it, be it. You know.
And you've gotten the opportunity to work with your father on a grand stage as well, like beyond, I mean, I know you had before, obviously, but that grand stage, how did that feel, especially in comparison to working with your brothers?
Oh, it was awesome. The first time we worked together was in New Zealand, I think it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Back in 2016, I think it was.
Man, time flies.
I know, right?
I was like, what? When was it? Yeah. That was 4 years ago. And it was amazing. What was so special about that too, and I think we said it before, was we were in New Zealand, and a lot of our dad's siblings lived in New Zealand, and they had never seen our dad wrestle live. Mm-hmm. And so for them to actually see him wrestle live and then us with him, it was a very special moment. Like, it was awesome. Like, just remembering it now, I'm getting chills about it. And it was, just processing over the memories of that. That was awesome just to come out. There's a photo of us when we come out, someone took from that event, and it's still like engraved in my mind because it's just awesome. Dad up front and Tama. If you're looking at it, Tama's to the left and I'm just coming out on the right. It's pretty cool.
When you were younger, did like other kids at school come up to you and say, "Man, I heard this story about your dad kicking somebody's ass"? Like,
oh no, not at all.
Really?
When we were kids, like no one, like when we were kids, what was nice is like back then, you know, we didn't have social media, so anything that ever happened, only the wrestlers knew, the company knew, and nothing ever got outside of that unless you were there, you know, in that city or that particular hotel. The cops that showed up, so, they knew the story. Like they can, like, if anyone had a phone back then, maybe kids would have found out and then they would have asked us about it then. But we're real good about being hush hush about the business, and so for a long time, our dad was a truck driver to everybody else. Like that's how we explained his job, because we just wanted to. Our parents were real keen on making sure we had friends because they wanted to be our friends. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to, you know, have our dad's job play an influence on whether or not we would be liked.
The way that Tama had said it was that basically he didn't clue you all in for a long time. And I'm like, that's wild to think about. Like, was he just going off saying, "Hey, I'm a king now. I got to go do royal stuff for like 2 weeks." I got to go.
There's just times like he would show up and he's like, "Oh, I got these." And we're like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah. That's amazing.
Like, all right, cool. Yeah. For the longest time we were shut out from it. I think it was just one of the times I had seen a match and our dad lost and I was practically in tears. And our mom turned off the TV and she said, "All right, that's it." And then from there on, our focus was education and sports and wrestling until we were in high school, I think. Middle school, high school.
So New Japan's making their presence felt in the States. I thought that last summer specifically, in like a 2-3 week span, you had a couple of the best tag matches that I saw all year with the Briscoes. Like those were wars last year.
Yeah.
How did you feel coming out of those? I mean, you had a street fight and then I think a ladder war within maybe like 3 weeks of each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was what tour was that? With ROH, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Briscoes are amazing. One, they're just hilarious. Pleasure. It is a battle though when you go work those guys. I love those matches, but I think my favorite match with the Briscoes was. I know you didn't ask me what my favorite match was with
No, that's
them,
okay.
but
I want to hear
it's just because, the element of taking chairs and whatever. Yeah, it's brutal. But our first match, I think, with them for the titles was I suffered a concussion in the middle of the match. First, there was a boot in the corner by Jay.
Yeah.
He just took boot, boom. I get back up, and then like I'm in it, and then like from the rest of the match on, if you watch me, I'm sort of just like talking to Tama, like, yo, where we at? Like, what do you want to do? This and that, and I was just like making sure I was like in the match because I was just like boom. But because there was no element of weapons in that match, we're really like fucking going after each other. Because like at the same time, I'm not coherent enough to not fight. Because I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta make sure I keep my end of the, my part of the match.
We see that a lot with UFC fighters. Like they'll get knocked out and they'll start shooting a double leg on the referee. Like, they're just like, hey, I gotta fight. I gotta keep going.
Right. So yeah, like if you watch that match, like even when I watch that match back, I'm just I'm lucky and I'm grateful that match came the way it did.
Yeah, I mean, you all have worked together like, gosh, I think like 15, 16 times over the last few years. And the crazy thing is, like, you all have never been a full-time ROH team, it seems. They've never been a full-time New Japan team. It's just the magic gets made there, and you know it's going to be a fire match every single time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, and I think it's just knowing who your opponent is. And, like, the Briscoes have an aura about them. And luckily, Tom and I have an aura about ourselves, too. Yeah. And so I think that helps when those matches come together. You're going to get a tough, like, legit fight from the both of us.
So as we wrap up New Japan Strong, people can catch it on Fridays. How did you feel when they said, hey, we're going back to work, we're going to do effectively a brand split right now because of the pandemic? You've got New Japan USA, you've got New Japan over there. But I mean, this is not like a shorthanded roster. This is a lot of big stars over here working New Japan Strong.
Yeah, I know. I'm when I got the call, I was happy, but then I was all pissed because wanting to go back to Japan for a long time.
Yeah.
I know this is going to sound very arrogant of me, but I'm healthy. Ain't shit wrong with me. So send my ass to Japan because I want to be part of it. Because, what those guys put on for the New Japan Cup, it was awesome. I loved what they did. But at the same time, I'm sitting there, I'm watching it. Like, I feel like I was originally supposed to be part of the New Japan Cup, and it was a great opportunity for Ingles run just to see, how it would go. And the pandemic. So when we did get the call for this mini one, I was happy, but also I was like, oh, there's like, how many of us? 8 of us in that actual little tournament. So, and then I lose to Cobb in that first round. So I'm like, hot.
So, I mean, how are you feeling after that? Like what's the next thing that you look forward to? What keeps you motivated after an early exit like that?
To just keep fighting, like get back in things again. Like I said, we all know like we hadn't been in the ring forever, so to get that first match under my belt, great, awesome. And then now it's get more matches build up and figure out a way to always improve, always try new things, because we have that opportunity right now just to have fun until Japan says we can get over there. Because like to live in Orlando and know that WWE running up the street, and there you got matches going all day, and I'm like sitting over here like I could just drive over to that PC and just make a like, hey, I'm not under contract, and I'll probably get in trouble with New Japan, but I just want to wrestle right now. So
you're not under contract right now?
No, sorry. Well, I finally got under contract last summer.
Okay.
But I still have that sort of mentality, like, even though you're under contract, you should fight like you're not, because I think that's one of the first things I learned with not first thing, like one of the things I learned from WWE is like that it's just a piece of paper. Like they can at any time. So it's better to have that mentality, because I know in college, that's how it was for us. When we were on scholarship, it was only a year-long thing. So you have a whole year to audition basically for another year. So that's how I feel now with New Japan, because I learned that from WWE. There's a false sense of security with that contract. So now with New Japan, I still maintain that idea that I'm under basically, an audition for a year.
Yeah.
Like, so here's the contract. All right, prove that you're worthy enough for another one. So it's like, all right, cool, yeah. Keep that mentality.
These year-to-year bases, and if it was last summer, would it be like up soon, or are you there long term?
Yeah, it's gonna be up soon. What's nice is that the company's been real good about staying in contact with us and letting us know how things will work, and we'll talk again once this pandemic is done, which it won't. we can definitely start. What's nice is Japan, I think if you've seen it, they've been able to fill their arenas up to 50% capacity. They have people, which is nice. It's nice to see people in the arenas again in Japan. But until we get back to Japan, everything's still just keep fighting, make sure you're doing your best to stay healthy and to contribute to the company.
Yeah, one of the popular talking points when I would interview a lot of the WWE wrestlers that got released, they were like, yeah, the piece of paper says 3 or 5 year contract, but we're under 90-day contracts. So they can fire us and pay us for 90 days at any time they want. Like, that was how a lot of people felt. They're like, I mean, Gallows and Anderson, they signed 5-year deals, and now they're booking Paul Lee on Fight TV pay-per-view and having Boneyard matches.
Yeah, hey,
living the dream.
I think that's everybody's dream, is to create a program where you can just have a good time and have people pay for it. So,
did you watch that show?
Man, I did not. Because I've seen snippets of just their antics. So I was like, you know what? Like, what they did was 10 times of what you would see in normal life from them. They're a good time. They are hilarious. They're creative. And just to sit around and drink a beer with them is enough for me. To watch 10 times what they are, that's all right. I like who they are, just the way they are.
It was as horrible as they intended for it to be. It was so
right.
It was so wonderfully terrible, that show. I loved it. So as mentioned, New Japan Strong on Fridays, New Japan World. But let the people know where they can follow you on social media, where they can get a hold of you, where they can buy your merch, all that good stuff.
If you want to buy merch, prowrestlingtees.com/Tanga Loa. That's TANGALOA. You can follow me on Instagram and what's the other one? Twitter.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and also Facebook. Instagram, Twitter is Tanga Loa NJPW, and then Tanga Loa just for Facebook. And you can find me out and about in the state of Florida and sometimes in California.
You gonna get a TikTok like Bad Luck Fale?
No, I refuse. I was one of the first people that believed in the reports that TikTok was taking biometrics of your face when you were performing on that. And so I ruled against it. However, I know at any time, I am a conspiracy theorist, so
Oh
I
gosh.
believe in that hype. I do believe that the government's watching it at all times, so I mean, I might as well just join
Well, it did seem like you
TikTok.
were ahead of the curve on that one based on what we've learned about TikTok in recent weeks, recent months, even.
Right. You know, like I just remember like it was, you know, you got to watch out for those side articles. There's like these mini articles all the time in these big publishing magazines and newspapers. And you just got to look for those little snippets because then those little snippets become these big stories down the road. So that's just a suggestion. I'm not saying, you know.
We could do media literacy with Tanga Loa, and I think that would be a hell of a class.
Yeah, man, we can do it. Let's do it.
Guys, check him out, New Japan Strong on Fridays. Thank you so much for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me on the show, man.
Until next time, guys, we're out.
Cheers.